Hey guys, welcome back to the Danger Planet. My name is Brandon.
And I'm Sam.
And today we're going to be talking about some errata that just recently dropped for the game Malifaux.
Weird likes to do an errata every single year where they update the rules and change some of the models around. This one just dropped in February 2022, and there's been a lot of changes. So we're going to see what's new and what you can expect.
Yeah, there were some pretty substantial changes. So first things, we're going to break it down with some of the changes to the core rules. And after that, we're going to go faction by faction. So let's get started. One of the biggest changes, I think, is adding a new general action, right? That's pretty neat. So Slam is a new action.
It replaces the old ability to just remove a piece of destructible terrain, but Slam's even better because if the terrain you want to remove is not destructible, but it is impassable, you can just pick it up and put it down nearby. And that's going to be real nice for those people who are struggling to deal with Hoffman's pylons.
Yeah.
And not really anything else. It doesn't actually apply to any of
it doesn't, actually, because you can only move markers with it. Mm-hmm. They've also gone and added a new cap on burning and poison. So that caps out at 5 damage now?
5 damage. Now, you can have as much of the condition as you want, but it only does 5 damage. And that's not going to come up that often, but one trick that people were trying is loading up a ton of burning on Karis 2, having her scoot across the board, and then splash that damage onto somebody else and just killing them instantly. You can't do that anymore, which is probably good.
Okay.
There's another change that wasn't in the errata, but it was in the attached FAQ and was actually a functional change to the game. There are a lot of abilities in Malifaux that let you either make somebody else take an action or copy somebody else's action. And usually these have a restriction that say you can't copy an action or make someone take an action that attaches upgrades or lists a model by name.
Right.
And
so
obey, mimic, things like that. And now if a trigger on an action does one of those forbidden things, you can't declare the trigger, but you can take the action.
Yeah,
so, for example,
instead of just not being able to do the action at all.
Correct.
Right.
So, Nekema 2, she has a shockwave that has a trigger to summon a Terratot. Now, a doppelganger can copy that shockwave.
Nice. Yeah. So, we've also seen a couple of housekeeping rules changes, talking about the restrictions and sort of breaking down the process on healing, as well as action restrictions and bonus actions.
Yes, these are all fairly minor changes that are mostly standardizing rules and making them flow smoothly rather than applying major functional changes to the game.
So all right, let's talk about Explorer Society changes.
So the first crew we're going to talk about is the one I think everyone expected, which is Cadmus. Nexus got hit pretty hard. Right. Everyone was expecting her to. So let's see what changed.
So we saw a pretty big change in how the parasite tokens function. Previously, you could spread out damage on enemy turns. That's completely gone now. So now you can only spread out damage during friendly activations, which I think is going to pretty substantially speed up how the crew plays.
It's also a pretty big balance update. It means every time you hit a Nexus model, you're not going to be just taking a damage back.
Right. We also saw her aura change pretty substantially.
Yes, Nexus can channel her abilities through her friendly Cadmus models. Very similar to how they changed Zoraida a few erratas ago. Now it's an aura, so she has to have line of sight to the model she's channeling through. Now they made her a little bigger. She's size 3, so she has an easier time seeing over her crew. Right. But that also makes it easier for enemies to see her. She can't hide quite as well.
And then I think the big one, obviously, is the change in her summoning. So previously, she would spam out eyes and ears everywhere using models like Meredith Stanley to turn them into Berserker Husks. And the big change that they've made is that they've sort of given them a pseudo-mindless ability. So now, once they're summoned, although you can only summon 3 of them now total instead of as many as you would before, even when you summon them, they're also capped to not be able to activate that turn. So even if you upgrade them, those models will not be able to activate.
And that gives her, I think, a bit more balance in terms of the way she was able to just flood the board in control activation. So I think this has brought Nexus down quite a bit. She's had a few other minor changes, but overall, I think this has put her in a pretty healthy place, and I'm looking forward to seeing her on the table afterwards.
Right. And we also saw the Archivist change a bit. The Archivist lost some of the damage from its
Killer Late Feast
trigger, right? We saw a complete stripping of the elements, so no more huge initiative bonus. And then
we also saw the Archivist now no longer has the ability to produce web markers.
Right.
With its ranged attack, which people would use to fuel the summons.
So now she gets 1 a turn for free, but that's it. It's capped there, so you can't just do a bunch of them.
And the Archivist was a model you were seeing out of keyword all the time, and that's something Weird doesn't really like, and a good sign that a model is going to be nerfed.
Yeah. Speaking of models that get taken out of keyword all the time, we saw some pretty substantial changes to Mikhail.
Poor Mikhail. Used to having a 2-inch sword. It's going down to 1 inch.
It happens to a lot of guys.
Sure does.
And-
It's actually a pretty big deal on him because he had caught in the ring. So if he's engaging somebody, they can't target anybody else with attacks.
Yeah.
Going from a 2-inch radius to a 1-inch radius on that is pretty huge.
Absolutely.
It's a huge reduction on that ability's
Yeah,
range.
and we also saw a lot of his movement shenanigans that he had from his Chronicle ability got pretty drastically altered. It used to be a teleport, and now it's a push.
He never had to walk before because he could just teleport around whenever you healed a model. Now
Yeah.
he's going to have to walk sometimes, which will take him down a little bit. So after Nexus, I think everyone was expecting English Ivan to get hit.
Absolutely.
He was a real terror on the battlefield, and he was.
Yeah.
So Ivan was hit both offensively and defensively. Defensively, he has the ability to remove a shadow marker to just no-sell an attack.
Mhm.
He used to be able to switch schemes and shadow markers within 6 inches, and now it's only 2.
Yeah.
So it's a little harder for him to build that forest of shadow markers to protect himself.
Exactly.
He also lost the Umbra keyword.
Right.
He still has it for hiring purposes only, but him losing it personally is a huge deal because Gibson DeWalt has a melee attack that just heals an Umbra model for 2 damage.
Right. And as Ivan's not that, he doesn't anymore.
Not being able to heal him makes him a lot more fragile.
And we also saw him sort of cut off at the summon.
Yes.
A bit. So his summon ability used to deal damage, which it does not anymore if you decide to summon. And also we got a target number 14 slapped on the summon. So you can still hit models with the attack to do the damage, but unless you get up to that 14, we're not going to see any Brock Inspectors popping up in the middle of your crew.
I think we're going to be seeing a lot fewer Brock Inspectors generally, too. Those guys got nerfed.
Absolutely.
They used to have an ability, Hallowed Glory, that when they activate the ability, any enemy model touching them would take 2 damage.
Yeah.
Couldn't do anything to avoid it.
Yeah, but now they've slapped a bunch of restrictions on it. Both the Brock Inspector passing its duel, the enemy failing its duel, and then also you do have to physically move. All of these things neuter that drastically, as well as they've completely capped its terrifying. They took it off.
Yep.
It used to be terrifying 11. Now it's very cuddly.
So the Brock Inspector's quite a bit less dangerous. Moving back to the out of keyword all-stars, which you'd see a lot in these Explorer Society crews, Calypso.
Yeah, Calypso. Oh, that model had to go.
Yeah, Calypso is a real problem. So they've changed Calypso in a bunch of ways. They reduced its defense, making it a little easier to hit. They also made its explosion a little smaller and weaker, which is good because kind of sucks when you kill this thing, it hurts you, and then they just build it again. And finally, they got rid of its massive tentacles trigger on its Thriller Driller attack. That one was a pretty big deal because unlike its main attack, Thriller Driller is a tactical action. So there's no chance for the opponent to flip any cards to stop you from doing it.
Right.
If you had that tome, you could just get massive tentacles. So you could actually do quite a lot of ping damage without any ability to resist or ignore it, and now you can't.
Yeah, and the big nerf to it being taken out of keyword is they've changed the original creator rule to the original creator's rule. So if you're taking it out of Maxine, you actually have to pay the points regardless.
Yes, it's going to be a lot more expensive. 2 more points is a lot. I think you're probably not likely to see this one outside of Maxine.
I doubt it very much.
I think that there's some play with the Nexus kids, which we'll talk about when we talk about the titles in a future video.
Yeah.
But beyond that, it's mostly going to be an EVS model.
Yeah, I can't wait to see those Nexus kids pilot that submarine.
They've also changed the effigy and the emissary. These guys were just taken all the time because that Aura of Courage just gave you so much incidental healing.
Yeah, and so what they've done now is they've made the Aura of Courage only trigger to heal when the duel is caused by an opponent's model. So if your opponent doesn't want you to get 1,000,000 points of healing, they can just leave them alone.
Yes, you can no longer just pass 1,000,000 simple duels, 1,000,000 TNs, and heal your crew incidentally.
Right.
And then there's a couple of other buffs, actually. 1.5. The Alpinist, the little goat.
Yeah, he's the best model. I love that model.
That model's cool as hell. Unfortunately, he's still probably not good enough to take.
Well,
his aura on making people ignore terrain's a little bigger. He heals a little more. He still doesn't really do all that much, so I'd be surprised.
Yeah, one day he'll see his day in the sun.
The Cryptologists got basically a total rework, which is good because previously the only time you'd ever see them is to help Nexus do her Berserker Husk factory.
Yep.
Can't do that anymore. But they've gained a new ability to generate scrap markers with the throw your arm at them trigger. And they have a new bonus action that can let Wastrels take the action on their attached upgrades. So I think you might actually see them with McCabe. They make it a lot easier for him to start churning those upgrades out and getting them around.
Right, instead of with just Nexus.
So the next faction we're going to talk about is the Bayou.
Of course. So we've seen a lot of changes to the Bayou. Mostly, unfortunately, it seems like it's a lot of nerfs, right?
It's mostly nerfs. There's one buff I'm pretty excited about.
Yeah.
So we're going to start with the Bokor. We mentioned earlier that they don't really like it when models get taken out of keyword a lot, and Bokor's got taken out of keyword all the time.
Yeah.
So they lost Obey.
Completely. Yep. Their deja vu trigger that let you basically fix your hand, that's gone.
Mm-hmm. They gained Consolidate Power, which lets them push models around, and they gained a Surge trigger, so they still have some card velocity.
Yeah, and a little bit of in-keyword support with Wong, their blast resistance that they've got, which is nice.
It is. And they're just no longer going to be drawing 6 cards in any crew, which is probably healthy.
Yeah.
Francois. Pour one out from my man.
Yeah.
Francois was a bit of a problem, I have to admit. Kin overall, they're strong, and they're also strong in a way that's not that much fun to play against, because they just kill all your models, and then you can't really play the game anymore.
Yeah.
Francois got his knees cut off. He no longer has the built-in crit strike on his melee attack, which means instead of a 3/4/5, he's a 2/3/4.
He lost Hard to Kill.
And he lost Showdown, his ability that gave him built-in plus twists whenever anyone attacked him without blocking in the way. Now, in return for that, he gained an interesting trigger on his challenge action, which he now has, which means that when he gets this trigger off, any model other than the model he targeted is at a minus twist to hit him. So that gives him some of his defensive abilities back.
Sure.
He also gained Wild Shot on his gun, so he's a little better at shooting.
Mm-hmm. And it seems like they also nerfed Rami a bit as well.
And Rami as well. The other really a big offender in the kin keyword. Rami no longer ignores concealment, and he lost his no witnesses trigger, and he went up in points.
Yeah, from 6 to 7.
Rami was a little absurd. I think you're still going to see Rami in kin crews, though, because he still does a lot.
Do you think we're not going to see Francois anymore?
I mean, I think the jury's out. I'm personally not very excited about taking him anymore. It's just hard to see what his role is.
Yeah.
Let's go talk about the other changes there. A little more exciting, though.
So they've completely reworked Wong.
Oh, yes. Wong has been paying for his second edition sins for a while. He's been pretty weak. So what they changed with Wong, first of all, his new 3 Demon Bag ability just cancels any trigger that anyone would declare against him.
Yeah.
Ever. That's pretty cool.
It's neat. It's nice to see them step into sort of a new design space, I think.
It is. He also no longer automatically places 2 Fizat markers. He has a trigger to do it, and it's built in, but if he does that, he can't declare any other triggers.
Right.
And finally, probably most interestingly for his crew, he got a new trigger on his glow ability. This ability, Protective Glow, this trigger, will add an additional glowy token to everybody in the radius and heal all your friendly models by 1 point.
Yeah.
He does a lot of damage to himself, and so it's good to have that AoE healing. And also, this is doubling the amount of glow that he can put out in an AoE. That's a lot of glow. So, and finally, stuff you can do with that glow, Swine Cursed.
Yeah.
So the Swine Cursed got one pretty substantial nerf, which is they no longer have the ability to turn glowy tokens into triggers. They can just use them as armor now.
Yep.
They did gain a Tear Off a Bite trigger on their melee attack.
Sure. Yep.
Most excitingly, they're pigs now.
Yep. Yeah, the Sui keyword has been replaced with pig.
Now, the pig keyword is really powerful. It gives them access to the whole suite of pig buffs that Ulix and Old Major can put out. I think you're going to see these guys a lot now.
Yeah.
They're very strong. Oh, and they got a new trigger, I'm no coward, to give them some shielded whenever they're doing their heroic intervention to push in.
Wild.
That's going to be pretty fun.
So
that's Bayou.
Yeah, that's...
Arcanists! Let's not bury the lead here.
Absolutely.
Rasputina exists now.
Absolutely.
She's a real model.
Very excited.
Rasputina has been very significantly changed, and frankly, I don't even think I can give that much of an appraisal of how good she is now, because she's totally different.
Completely.
She has gained a Glacial Surge ability, which allows her to draw up to 3 cards a turn, just from cheating or discarding cards, which are 2 things she does a lot.
Yep, her previous ability to blow up her Ice Pillar markers has changed completely. Now it lets her teleport her crew around the board.
Yeah, she can push the markers, and then have her little crew follow them.
Yep.
Which is neat. Her attack has been changed around a little bit. It's got some neat new triggers. It has a new ability to do extra damage if one of its blasts is touching an Ice Pillar marker. So you're really incentivized to get those markers out as much as you can. I'm just really excited to see what new Raspi does.
Yeah, for sure.
The Mole Man has been really terrible for such a long time.
Yeah.
It's hard to know what the changes are going to do. It seems pretty good now, though.
It does, yeah. I've had a chance to play him in Marcus so far, and the new tunneling markers are very interesting.
Yeah, they give you some mobility.
Yeah.
And finally, Neil Henry has gone from a model that was kind of unfocused and it was really hard to tell what he was supposed to do into a model that's much more focused on fighting near scrap markers, generating scrap markers, and generally synergizing with Mei Fang's scrap marker.
Yeah, and we saw him, of course, get the bulldoze ability that they added to Von Schill and Hoffman, too.
Very powerful ability.
Very good ability.
Only non-master in the game who has it, so he might be taken just for that. Let's talk about
10 Thunders.
10 Thunders.
Unfortunately, I think, we got to start with Fuhatsu.
They killed Fuhatsu. Good riddance. He's dead now.
Great. So the Terracotta Warrior...
No. Well, okay, so Fuhatsu was a henchman.
Yeah.
He is not anymore.
Now he's an enforcer.
He was a model with rapid fire.
And that's not the case anymore.
And he was a model with scatter.
Yeah, also gone.
I don't know if scatter was the biggest deal on him, but losing rapid fire and the ability to spend soul stones are both pretty huge.
Absolutely. Scatter, I think, is a very, very good ability. They did give him a little bit with an interesting card draw trigger on his ranged attack, but...
and he also has the covering fire ability.
Yeah, covering fire is nice, but we'll see if he still gets taken.
I think he's going to see a lot less play.
For sure, definitely.
Terracotta Warriors, though.
Yeah, they got neat. They have something, I think, unique to them now, yeah?
Yeah. Oh, so they got rid of Just Like You on a lot of models that had it because they were on record as saying it was pretty restrictive of their design space. Terracotta Warriors now are 3 health models that can never take more than 1 point of damage from a single attack.
Yeah, but they gain Take the Hit, so that 3 points can be spread out to prevent massive attacks on your master.
Correct. And they have Nefarious Pact, so they draw a card at the end of their activation. Not bad. They're pretty cheap.
Pretty good overall.
I think you're going to start seeing Terracottas.
I think so. We did see 4 pieces of Errata in Neverborn. They got a little bit nerfed and a little bit buffed, but we did see some pretty substantial changes to the Black Blood Shaman.
The Black Blood Shaman was kind of a problem. He was showing up all over the place. He would make your whole crew have focus, and then he would turn into a mature Nephilim.
He made Nekema pretty nasty, and I think taking him out of keyword was pretty substantial. His focus bubble has been completely restricted to keyword now, so it will only hit Nephilim. So taking him outside doesn't make any sense.
He also can't turn into a mature anymore.
He also can no longer upgrade. Yeah, the grow tokens. Although he does get to pass out an extra grow token now with his Relish in Blood ability instead of handing out the focus. We won't see him becoming a mature Nephilim, which I think is actually going to move Young a little bit more into the spotlight.
I think so. There's a reason to take them now.
Yeah. So we also saw his Blood Clot ability reduced in range from 3 to 2. That was a pulse heal, and of course we saw his the restriction on his focus ability. Blasphemous Ritual is gone now. Instead, it's an ability on the front of his card that happens at the end of a move.
I think you're just probably not going to see him outside of Nephilim crews, but you probably will still see him there.
I think we're probably still going to see one in every Nekema crew, especially in new in Nekema 2 for sure. We also saw some pretty big changes to Changelings. They have unfortunately lost Just Like You.
Just like the Terracotta Warriors, I think that ability is probably better not existing so much.
Yeah.
They gained some stuff in return, though.
Yeah, they have the Sidekick ability, so at the start of their activation, they can pitch a card to teleport to another Mimic within Aura 12.
They also gained the Unassuming Demeanor attack action, so they can actually maybe hurt something.
Yep.
And they got this interesting ability that I don't really understand how you're going to use it right now. It's on the wrong side. It turns terrain markers into scheme markers.
Yeah.
But it only turns enemy terrain markers into scheme markers.
Yeah.
And it also just removes enemy scheme markers. I think that there's some interesting play there, but it's pretty situational.
Yeah, we'll see where that comes. Maybe it's something that'll come out in the future.
We got some buffs.
Yeah. So we saw the Blood Wretch actually get some pretty substantial changes. They just outright gained Hard to Kill, which is a great ability. And we also saw them get the Furious Swipe bonus action.
Yeah.
So going from a model that basically was never taken to something that might actually put out some real damage is really interesting and some Neverborn versatile area.
Yeah, I think it would be really cool to start seeing these guys a little bit.
We also saw a huge change in the Voltungen. We lost a pretty useless ability in Pack Mentality, and unfortunately they lost Abundant Growth, but their new ability, Homeward Bound, more than makes up for that. It lets them copy any sort of friendly terrain marker, so now they work a lot better in Euripides. They still work with Titania, and there might even be some play that you can use to copy web markers from Widow Weaver.
Yeah, there's some out-of-keyword possibilities there.
They gained Hard to Kill. Favorable terrain is great, giving them cover anytime they're near severe terrain.
Yeah.
I think huge buff all around for Voltungen.
Much more survivable.
They're definitely the all-star, the Neverborn errata changes. Okay.
All right. So, Outcasts.
Outcasts, yeah. We had a couple of changes to the Outcasts.
Some little stuff. One thing that's pretty exciting. We'll get to that one last. The Draken Trooper got a little bit of a change. They got cheaper. Their health went down a little. They got a little faster. They got the same containment suit ability that the new disease containment unit that Dashel got has. So they're a little bit more resilient to the conditions.
Yeah, and also on the note of disease, the Winged Plague.
The Winged Plague.
Winged Plague cute little guys might be takeable now.
That's maybe a stretch. Winged Plague were certainly in the running for worst model in the game.
Maybe.
Possible now. They're a little faster.
Yeah.
And their little end phase push is a little bit more powerful. So we might see them as mobile scheme runners.
Yeah. But I think the one that we're all excited about,
Barbaros.
Absolutely. So Barbaros has been sort of out of place since 3rd edition started with Lilith being removed from the game. And, well,
Barbaros has gained a new keyword. Brandon, what's that keyword?
That is the returned keyword.
The returned keyword.
So we, I don't know if there's anybody that might return at some point.
We are expecting some kind of return, but we're not quite sure.
Yeah, I'm excited to see where that goes.
Other than that, he's gotten a little bit of shuffling of his stats. Defense and willpower switched places.
Yeah, he lost challenge, but he gained Cade. Caught in the ring.
Caught in the ring is a pretty big deal.
Caught in the ring
is
big. Yeah.
It makes him a bit more of a bodyguard instead of challenge. It's bodyguarding in a slightly different way.
Yeah.
But overall, I think the thing about Barbaros people are most excited about is the keyword.
Yeah. Hopefully we'll see what that brings later on in the year.
I'm sure we will.
Yeah, so Guild.
Pretty minor changes for Guild.
Yeah, we had just 2 of them.
Yeah.
The orderlies have been we worked a little bit.
I think pretty substantially.
Yeah.
For one thing, they have a bonus action now, just like their friends the Blood Wretches.
Wild.
It's actually a really good one. Creep along gives them a lot of mobility.
Yeah.
They also have Clingy, which is the same ability Devas have. Makes it very difficult for enemies to shake them. I like it.
Yeah.
In general, I think these guys have a chance now.
Yeah. And we also saw some changes to the Thalarian Quellers.
Thalarian Quellers, those models are a bit weird.
Yeah.
It's hard for me to say whether the new abilities are going to let them see play. They have a new ability to tax your enemy's soulstone use, which is pretty unique.
That is, yep.
And
we did see their staff reduce in stat a little bit. But
yeah, but that's not really why you take them. They do have a new bonus action to give a model Wong's ability to not have triggers declared against it.
Yeah.
Pretty cool, I'd say. It's a pretty unique piece of defensive tech. So between that and their ability to put the kibosh on soulstones, you might see them as kind of a tech.
And with Gunfighter now, they can use their ranged attack in melee.
Other than that, not much for Guild.
Yeah.
And last but not least, the Resurrectionists.
Yes. Lots of changes there. We saw McMorning.
And that's it. Just
okay, wild.
This is actually the first errata that's been issued to a Malifaux Burns Master. And I understand why they didn't want to do it. Weird really doesn't like re-errataing a model they've previously errated.
Yeah.
But Dr. McMorning and Sanitary was a little bit much. There were some pretty stupid combos where people were stapling Vincent St. Clair's cremate action to Seamus and then just sort of deleting enemy models with no flips of any kind. That was a problem.
That was huge, yeah. And so, much like all of the abilities that we see taken wildly out of context, we saw it reduced just to experimental.
It's still a great ability. Stapling an action from one model to another model is very, very strong.
Very powerful.
But now you have a much more restricted range of who you can staple them to. You can still steal an action from anyone you want.
Yeah. We also had his upgrades change a little bit. Now, if they attach a new upgrade, they'll lose the old one.
That was, I think, probably a good change, just because when you started getting all the upgrades on a single model, that model became fairly unreasonable to deal with.
But it does have a baked-in RAM now.
The baked-in RAM is a big deal because the RAM trigger is actually pretty cool and powerful.
Yeah.
And it's also... Often you're going to want to do the other trigger, so now there's some actual choice. But the fact that the RAM trigger is built in means it's a little more attractive.
Yeah, but plastic surgery.
That had to go. It had to go. That's the errata.
That's it. We had a lot of really exciting changes. Certainly, Bayou and Explorers we saw more in than anyone else, but I think that they really needed some balancing and reworking.
I do think that this is going to bring Explorer Society down to earth quite a bit, and we all knew it was going to happen, and I think it'll just be a lot more fun to play against them now.
Yeah, absolutely. But at the same time, I think it's important to note that it's obvious that Weird is willing to take a look at some of the masters that maybe aren't hitting the table as much, Rasputina, Wong, and really just make them playable. You know?
There's only 54 masters in the game, and I think Weird wants them all to be playable, and that's a really, really good goal. I'd like to see them do more of that.
Absolutely. Thanks for joining us on this talk about the Malifaux February 2022 errata, and hopefully we'll have another couple videos out when Gaining Grounds 3 releases.
Hopefully soon. We'll see you later.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Danger Planet. This is not a take because the door is currently open.
Yeah.
Close the door.
What if we do a take where we're both eating food continuously while we're talking?
We'll do that
I have
after
excellent
shooting
mouthful
this.
talking skills. Excellent. Okay.
You had to develop those.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Danger Planet.
That's Adam's back.
Adam, you're in the shot.
I gotta play dots at Patty Kelly's.
Yeah, I'm well aware.
Dude.
It's Klaus.
His pocket full of personality.
What a pocket.
Okay, no, but it's Rick Sanchez vibes.
Okay, just clap me. Clap me.
Clap me.
I need it.
You heard it here first.
No, we can't say that.
Yes, we can.
No, can we say
We
that?
absolutely can say that.
Can we say that?
I'm going to say it.
You did.
Yeah,
I think it's fine to.
Why are there still brains on it? I like my
Linkin Park.
toast buttered.
And I'll take mine dry.
I dig the Beatles.
I'm a Stones kind of guy.
Sam, Linkin Park didn't like the lyrics.
Where did you guys play Malifaux? No. Fucking Jesus Christ.
Oh my god.
What are you doing with your life?
Wow.
Not much.
Holy shit. It's your thing. You didn't know I had a thing to
I buy a lot of stupid shit, dude.
Yeah, it's true.
If I were Kermit the Frog, I would be doing that thing where my face does like the curl right now, and I wish that I could do that in real life. Starts with one.
Like super small amount is all.
One thing, I don't know why. It only
very small.
had
a little bit more.